So we have two primary encouragements to any of you who want to live the joyful life that you came to live, and that's all of you. The first is, understand the existence of this vibrational reality and accept it as present tense, and do your best to move in the direction of it with every thought, word, and action. The second is, if you will look for things to appreciate where you are, become a better selective sifter. Decide that you're going to tune yourself to the frequency of all that you have become. And that's the thing that we really want you to understand. This is the thing that sometimes is hard to understand. Your life is causing you to expand. And the only thing that will ever cause you to have negative emotion is you not taking the expansion. You are expanding beings, and the only reason that you ever feel negative emotion of any kind ever, the only reason you ever feel negative emotion is because you've moved and become something that you, in your moment of negative emotion, are not allowing yourself to be. Inside this vortex is who you eternally are and where you ultimately will return. We just don't think you should have to croak to get in the vortex. And it is our promise to you, as addictive and compelling as your physical reality is, you're going to get hooked on this vortex. You are. You're going to get hooked on that high feeling, that high-flying feeling. You're going to get hooked on the feeling of who you really are. You're going to get hooked on that feeling of elation. Esther finds it when she gets behind the wheel and they hook that car up and they get out on the open road, and the sun is shining and the roads are beautifully laid out before her and the vista is around and her lover is next to her and everything in her world is perfect. And she just wants to yodel down the canyons of the highways of this world. She just wants to shout to everyone, look at this beautiful life that we've carved out for ourselves. And when she finds that place, she wishes to maintain it incessantly, but she doesn't. In other words, it's a high that comes, isn't it? It's a high that comes. It's a feeling that comes. It's that rapturous feeling of being in love. But then life causes you to focus. Then suddenly she realizes she doesn't know where she's going. And maybe she hasn't programmed the Magellan just right or the Garmin just right. And where's Jerry anyway? He should be up here helping me. And then the vortex just spits her right out. Spits her right out. And then she finds another thought, and the vortex just takes her back in. In other words, it's such a willing partner, never holding a grudge. Your vortex never says, where were you yesterday? Your vortex never says, we've been here keeping a light on for you while you've been over there complaining about that and that and that and that and that. We're turning this light off. You just stay over there in the dark for a while. You have to remember that you're not doing your creating from inside the vortex. You're doing your allowing from inside the vortex. You did your creating from outside the vortex. Most of it, I know what I don't want. Almost all of your asking happened from outside the vortex. So you ask and put it in there. Now your work is to allow. And sometimes when you start trying to create, it blows you out again. And here's the law that we want you to understand. The vibration of a question and the vibration of the answer are very different vibrations. The vibration of the problem and the vibration of the solution are very different vibrations. So when the problem has bounced you to the solution, can you see how your work is not to think your way in, but to feel your way in, or to quiet your mind and stop resistance? Your vortex is always calling you, and your source is always there. And when you find the feeling of it, then practice it, milk it. When you're having a good moment, ask yourself, what are the components of this moment? Why do I feel so good? What's so lovely about this? And describe it. Use your words. Use your emotional words, but begin to practice the conversation. Affirm from inside the vortex. In fact, affirm constantly and do it all from inside the vortex. And never ever affirm from outside the vortex. When you affirm from outside the vortex, you practice the outside the vortex vibration. When you affirm from inside the vortex, you practice the inside the vortex vibration. So, all that has been lived has culminated into this vortex of creation that you are right now calling Source. In other words, this Source is a pure vibration that holds no resistance. So when law of attraction responds to this pure vibration that holds no resistance, that's why eternity is assured, and that's why well-being is promised, you see. So here's human out here worrying about this, shooting that one, killing that one, robbing from that one, plundering that one, worrying about all kinds of things. But as man has those experiences, he asks for improvement, which Source becomes. And so that's why we can unequivocally state to you that this Source that you want to call God or Source, we're calling it all that is, that expanded vibrational reality is the synthesizing and the best that is erupted out of all that has been lived. Ooh, it's so powerful. That's why we can stand here and assure you that well-being is the order of your universe, and that while, as a human, you can temporarily pinch yourself off from it, that the well-being of all that is and the well-being of your planet is assured, because when you ask, it is given. And there aren't enough of you, even though it's all of you, there aren't enough of you in physical form to pinch yourself off simultaneously from that which is Source to do any real damage to this well-being that is promised that Source has become. In other words, that's old news anyway. Over here is where life is, you see. That's why we never worry about your planet becoming deteriorated or it disintegrating or life becoming less, because it defies the laws of the universe. The contrast makes it become more. And even no matter what the state of it is that you all might be examining and calling, look at the way life is, we say, whatever is the state of being that any of you are looking at, it's old news. And that old news has produced new, better news that Source is a vibrational equivalent to. That's why you must know your planet is not in peril. Do you know that most of the vibration that you offer is because of what you are observing? So here's Esther and Jerry in their monster bus in this campground on this beautiful day. And what do they have? The delicious benefit of being able to observe someone so in the vortex that as soon as they laid their eyes on her, they did not want to take their eyes off of her. And because she spun her web around them, around and 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 around she went, holding them for way more than 68 seconds in captivation of focused upon this joyful little child. Right into the vortex they went. Now, here's the thing that we want you to hear. This vortex is calling you always, and it's a powerful call. You have to do some really strident, often chronic. You see, we know as physical beings, you've been using words like faith and hope for a while, a long while. And we want you to understand that what the true accomplishment that a feeling of faith or hope will give you is it causes you to distract yourself from beating the drum of what is. And it puts you in a suspension that allows what is already amassed vibrationally to manifest physically. And if you don't allow that release of resistance, it can't manifest. We get it that you can't look at a situation and really define it differently than it is. There's too much fact, too much evidence, too many others focused upon it and pointing at it in the same way. We get that. But we want you to withdraw your attention from the evidence that is holding you in the evidence. We want you to stop holding yourself in the evidence that is less than you want and allow yourself to flow freely into the vibration, and we promise you the evidence will follow. Everything that everyone wants is because you think you will feel better when you get it. And so what we're suggesting is that you feel better even before you get it in terms of manifestation, that you go for the feeling, which is the reason you're asking for it anyway. And when you go for the feeling and accomplish the feeling and maintain the feeling and practice the feeling and get in the vortex and be in the vortex and stay in the vortex and sustain your vibration in the vortex and practice the vibration of the vortex until you are chronically someone who's in the vortex, each and everything that you've ever asked for must come into full manifestational view for you, where everyone you know who is anywhere nearby can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. And then they will say to you, "Hey, how'd you do that?" And you will say, "I stopped worrying about the absence of it and started feeling the vibrational presence of it, and I tuned myself to the vibration of it, and then it just showed up." That's how it works. If you weren't doing that thing you do that keeps you from the vortex, you'd be in there. And that thing you do is thinking thoughts that are resistant to the vortex. So meditation, easy way in. Appreciation, easy way in. Chronic appreciation would hold you in the vortex. Chronic meditation would be a very boring life. Let us say that because you want it to come really quick, you're aware that it isn't coming really quick, so you're shooting yourself in the foot by wanting it to come really quick. Because your awareness that you want it to come quick brings forth your awareness that it isn't coming quick, which holds you in a vibrational discordant to what you want. So isn't it interesting? The quicker you want it, the slower it comes. What we mean by that is, if whenever you think about having something wanted, if it makes you aware that you don't have it, then the more specific you are, sometimes the more specifically resistant you are. It's like every subject is two subjects. You pick up a stick that has something wanted on one end, the absence of it is on the other. So you have to decide which end of the stick you are vibrating usually on. So if it's easy for you to imagine the details of the bus, if thinking about it in fact feels so good to you that it takes you right into the vortex, then we would say the more specific you are, the faster it will come. But if thinking about it reminds you that you don't have it, then the specifics of it slow you down. So that's why it's a sort of molding thing. The answer to the question is, be as specific as you can be while still feeling good. So another way of looking at it is, by meditating and quieting your mind, the vortex will take you in. So once you are in the vortex feeling good, now begin pondering this desire. And as you ponder it, if you're able to still remain feeling good, then ponder it with more detail. And if you still feel good, ponder it with more detail. But if you get specific enough that it activates your awareness of lack, then the vortex will spit you out. Then you start the process over again. Get into the vortex in whatever easy way you can. Maybe by focusing on some subject that every time you think about it, you easily get into the vortex. Think about what that means. If you are paying your bills and feeling discouraged, that discouragement is based upon what you are calling reality. We say, no, that isn't it. That discouragement is not because of your current reality. It's because of your depriving yourself of your vibrational reality. We get it that you think that this reality is real. And we're not quibbling. We just want you to know that the real reality is the vibrational reality that always precedes the manifestation. And if you can just hear us when we say to you that your emotions are not about your observation of the reality that has already taken shape and form. Your emotions are about the reality that is in the vibrational sphere that you are moving toward. In other words, what you feel is about this vibrational reality and your relationship to it. That was big. Did you get that? We have not said that clearly before. So here, we'll say it again. Your emotions, every one of them, are about this vibrational reality. How you feel is about this vibrational reality and your right now, in the moment, thought process relative to it. So now we'll say it in another strong way. If your life in this body had not caused you to move to a new place vibrationally. And if the larger part of you had not already taken it as the new and improved you and become it present tense, you would never feel negative emotion. So negative emotion means every single time you've expanded to something that you're disallowing with your current active thought. So